What's up, folks? What it do? It's your boy Roy back with another episode of the Preaching the Birds podcast. We like to talk to you about the latest and breaking Eagles news as it comes to you and stuff like that. So as you know, Brian Johnson has been snip cut from the Eagles team. Personally, I feel like Brian Johnson was a scapegoat. I feel like the person who needs to go for sure is Nick Sirianni with his lackluster offense, to say the least. Okay? Lackluster. Nothing to it. Too simple. I think Brian Johnson was scapegoated. And now, we have Nick Sirianni here for another year for sure, because Nick Sirianni is doing the firings. Now, look. Because of that, we got to go over the potential candidates that are going to be coming to the team, right? So first person on the list is Frank Reich. Frank Reich, the former coach that used to coach for us when we won the Super Bowl. Then he became a coach for the Panthers and the Colts. Not in order. You get it. But he failed miserably there. So the reason why he is the number one person on this list is very simple. He may not leave very quickly. It seems like his time as a head coach should be over for a while. He shouldn't be getting any more opportunities. So that's why he's number one on the list. By the way, this isn't my list. I'm going to tell you who's top on my list. Don't worry about that. I got you, sweetheart. I got you. But look, Frank Reich's the number one person on the list simply because he has a lot of experience with Nick Sirianni, a great relationship. You know how they preach connectivity. Yeah, whatever that bullshit is. So he's the number one on the list simply because of those things. Frank Reich may be able to teach Nick Sirianni some more things about being a head coach, maybe being able to call plays for himself. We'll see. I think Frank Reich isn't the greatest head coach, but maybe he can be a great offensive coordinator. You know how sometimes these people just need to stick to what they're good at, Sometimes, people like Wade Phillips, they're just better coordinators than they are head coaches. You know what I'm saying? But all right. Next person on the list is Eric the Enemy. So Eric, he's the Andy Reid disciple. Eric, I would love Eric to be our next OC, right? I would love it. Simply because he seems to keep the run game part of the scheme, right? Yes, Sam Howell threw for 4,000 yards. But he was getting Antonio Gibson and he was getting Robinson, the Rock, over there. With that weak offensive line, he was still out there trying to give them the rock. And I'm okay with that. He helped try to develop a young Sam Howell. And I would love to see that development with Jalen Hurts for sure. And on top of that, Eric the Enemy isn't that highly rated right now when it comes to head coaching ability or head coaching candidacy. It seems like we would have him for a couple years, right? Boom, bam, spick and spam. And, he would definitely get our screen game going. We miss having a screen game like we had when we had Andy Reid. And who better to bring that back? Bring that Brian Westbrookness back. Bring that LaShawn McCoyness back than an Andy Reid disciple. Baby. So the next person on the list, though, is Cliff Kingsbury. He is the former Cardinals offensive coordinator. Former Cardinals head coach. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Cliff Kingsbury. Back in 2021 or 2022, whatever his last season was, the only team that ran less motion, that did less with their quarterback under the center, was Cliff Kingsbury to the Eagles. So, Nick Sirianni obviously interviewing people of the same ilk that like to sue the same disgusting type of offense. But, you know, who am I? I'm not the person getting to decide who becomes our next offensive coordinator. I'm just the guy who gets to report it to you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Cliff Kingsbury. Even in the Cardinals' best season, their 11-5 season, when they finished second in the NFC West, the running backs, they were not really utilized. James Conner never had 1,000 yards. Closest he got was 725, even though he played 15 games that season. I'm just saying, if we want to do the same thing over again and fail, go to get Cliff Kingsbury. Now, I'm not saying the offense, the passing game wouldn't be disgusting. I think it would, because Cliff Kingsbury got a very lackluster wide receiving core to do work with Kyler Murray and get to 11-5. So, let's be honest here. A.J. Brown and Schmitty would probably cook in that system. Let's be honest. But you got to be consistent with the run game in order to make it deep in the playoffs. You don't believe me? Look at the teams that are still in the playoffs. The Lions, heavy run game. The Ravens, heavy run game. The 49ers, heavy run game. Do I got to say more? I don't. So let's go on to the next person. Jim Bob Cooter is the next person on the list. He's the coordinator for the Colts right now. And yeah, Shane Steichen be calling the plays over there. So I'm not sure if he has that much play calling experience, but the offense over there did work. Gardner Minshew looked okay over there, and we know how buns Gardner Minshew can be. We know it for a fact. He lost to the Saints. He lost to the Cowboys in disgusting manner last year, but somehow he almost got that lackluster Colts team to the playoffs. The Colts team that we thought was going to take at least another 2 years to get built. Yeah, he almost took them to the playoffs on his back. On his white, very skinny back. I must say. I'm just saying. And the last person on my list is Gerard Johnson, the Texans QB coach. Now, Gerard Johnson, like Jim Bob Cooter, will not have that much experience calling plays. But after looking at how complicated and how amazing the Texans offense looks, how dynamic their screen game was, how open those wide receivers were. Who was Nico Collins? Nico Collins turned into a dog out of nowhere. Nico Collins turned into Higgins overnight over there in the Texans offense, boy. Nico Collins turned into a number one receiver overnight. Niggas had never heard of this nigga, Nico Collins, bro. But, the Texans got him looking like a stud, balling out in all the playoff games he played in. Come on now. I need some of that. And I loved how the Texans developed C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud was one of the first QBs to ever throw for 4,000 yards and make the playoffs, man. I need that type of development for Jalen Hurts, baby. While he's still young, I don't want to waste our window of opportunity to get another chip. The running quarterbacks have a 5 to 6 year window. We are approaching that window. We need to get a tub. We need to get a chip now. We need to get a win. Go out here and get this man, Gerard Johnson. As you can tell by how excited I am about talking about him, that is my number one person that I want to get. That's my number one person I want to get. The rest of them niggas is buns. To me, other than Eric the Enemy, I would love Eric the Enemy. But, it is what it is. Right? I don't get to decide. But, let me know how you guys feel. That's just my personal opinion. But, all right. Peace out. Hope y'all have a good day. Fly Eagles fly, baby.